Very good morning. You're watching Today in Parliament with me, Aishwarya Kapoor, and here are this morning's Parliament headlines. 10 working days left for second part of the budget session to conclude. A finance bill and appropriation bills in Rajya Sabha. Arun Jaitley to move bills in upper house for consideration and return. Bills have been passed by Lok Sabha. Motor Vehicles Amendment Bill, State Banks Repeal and Amendment Bill and Prevention of Corruption Amendment Bill to be moved in the Rajya Sabha. Discussion on reported scams in public sector banks are slated in the Rajya Sabha. Short duration discussion slated in the upper house. Lok Sabha to debate alleged banking irregularities under a rule that does not entail voting. And bill to deal with economic offenders who leave the country in the Lok Sabha. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley to move Fugitive Economic Offenders Bill. 5 new bills to be introduced in the lower house. 10 more working days of the ongoing second part of the budget session are left and the deadlock in Parliament persists. No business was transacted on the 13th day on Wednesday. Now, state issues continued to disrupt proceedings in both houses of Parliament and repeated appeals by the chairman in the Rajya Sabha and the speaker in the Lok Sabha to allow the House to function did not yield any result. Several key legislations are pending for Parliament approval. This is the third week of the second part of the budget session of Parliament. 13 days have been disrupted so far due to protests over multiple issues in both houses of Parliament. Despite government's assurances that it is willing to discuss all issues, very little legislative business has been transacted since the beginning of the session on 5th of March. In the upper house today, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley will move for consideration and return the Finance Bill 2018 that gives effect to the financial proposals of the central government for the financial year 2018-19. Jaitley will also move for consideration and return the Appropriation No. 2 Bill 2018. The bill authorizes the payment and appropriation of certain sums from and out of the Consolidated Fund of India for the services of the financial year 2018-19. Arun Jaitley will also move for consideration and return the Appropriation No. 3 Bill 2018. The bills have been passed by the Lok Sabha. And also a discussion on banking irregularities is slated in the Rajya Sabha today. A short duration discussion is slated on reported scams in some public sector banks and the alleged failure of the banking regulators to check them. Harivansh, Rupa Ganguly and R.K. Sinha will initiate the discussion in the upper house. The issue has been on the list of the business of the Rajya Sabha since 7th of March. The government has agreed for discussion on all issues being pressed by the opposition, but the opposition parties are insisting on a debate on bank frauds under a rule that entails voting. And in the Lok Sabha as well, discussion on banking irregularities is slated to be raised by N.K. Premachandran of the Revolutionary Socialist Party and K.C. Venugopal of the Congress Party. The leaders will raise the issue of alleged systemic irregularities in the banking sector over the years and its impact on the Indian economy. The discussion will be held under Rule 193 that does not entail voting. The issue has been on the business of the lower house since 6th of March, but no discussion has been possible due to repeated disruptions over multiple issues. Let's go across to my colleague Kriti Mishra, who's joining us live from Parliament. A very good morning, Kriti. 10 more working days of the second part of the budget session are left, and there are fears now that the second part of the session may actually be a washout. So any chance of expecting anything else otherwise?
That's right, Aishwarya. Barely 10 days are left for the second half of the budget session to conclude, and there's heavy legislative agenda. In fact, the upper house hasn't even discussed and debated union budget, but since this is a money bill and if the Rajya Sabha doesn't return it in 14 days, the bill is deemed to have been passed by the Rajya Sabha. But remember, there are other crucial bills. For instance, the Prevention of Corruption Amendment Bill, the Payment of Gratuity Bill that seeks to increase the ceiling of tax-free gratuity for the employees, the Motor Vehicles Amendment Bill that seeks to make Indian roads safer. Remember, Aishwarya, Indian roads account for highest fatalities in the world, and Indian roads saw 17 deaths and 55 accidents every hour in 2016. So certainly a very crucial bill. There's also State Bank of India repeal and amendment bill that seeks to enhance financial inclusion in the country. So very important bills, very important government agenda. Chairman yesterday reiterated that he would allow discussion on all the issues under appropriate rules. In fact, the government has also articulated its stance that it was ready to discuss all the issues. The government also enunciated that it was the collective responsibility of the Treasury as well as the opposition benches to ensure that the House functions. In fact, the opposition parties, led by Leader of Opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad, he had also clarified that the opposition is ready to discuss all the issues, including special category status to Andhra Pradesh, PNB bank fraud, and also constitution of Kaveri Water Management Board. But despite all these assurances from all quarters, disruptions in the Rajya Sabha are continuing unabated. Aishwarya?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kruti, for all those updates from Parliament there. Huge backlog, of course, of all the legislative agenda in both houses of Parliament. And let's take a look at the legislative agenda slated for today. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley will move the State Bank's Repeal and Amendment Bill 2017 in the Rajya Sabha. The bill seeks to repeal the State Bank of India Subsidiary Banks Act 1959 and the State Bank of Hyderabad Act 1956 and also amend the State Bank of India Act 1955. It also aims to make a rational use of the resources made available by the merger of these banks, leading to a reduction in costs and increase in bank profits. The Lok Sabha has already passed this bill. Also, Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari will move the Motor Vehicles Amendment Bill 2017 in the upper house. This bill amends the Motor Vehicles Act of 1988 to address issues such as third-party insurance, the regulation of taxi aggregators and road safety. Now, this bill is important due to radical changes in the law, which is as old as 30 years. It proposes high penalties for various traffic offences, a 3-year jail for the parents of minors drivers causing fatal accidents, and a 10-fold increase in the compensation to the families of the accident victims. For the deaths in hit-and-run cases, the bill proposes for the government to provide a compensation of 2 lakh rupees or more to the victim's family. Currently, this amount is just 25,000 rupees. Also, the minimum fine for drunk driving has been increased from 2,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees in the bill. Also in the Rajya Sabha today, Jitendra Singh will move the Prevention of Corruption Amendment Bill 2013. The bill seeks to amend the Prevention of Corruption Act 1988. The bill makes specific provisions related to giving a bribe to a public servant and giving a bribe by a commercial organization. The bill modifies the definitions and penalties for offences related to taking a bribe, being a habitual offender and abetting an offence. The powers and procedures for the attachment and forfeiture of the property of the public servants who have been accused of corruption have also been introduced in the bill. The Act requires a prior sanction to prosecute serving public officials, and the bill extends this protection to former officials as well. And Santosh Kumar Gangwar will move the Payment of Gratuity Amendment Bill 2018. This bill seeks to further amend the Payment of Gratuity Act of 1972. The bill empowers the central government to notify the period of maternity leave eligible for qualifying as a continuous service and determine the amount of gratuity available to employees. The maximum maternity leave under the 1961 Act was changed from 12 weeks to 26 weeks by the Maternity Benefit Amendment Act of 2017. The bill removes the reference to 12 weeks in the 1972 Act and empowers the central government to notify the maximum maternity leave. Now, under the Act, the maximum amount of gratuity payable to an employee cannot exceed 10 lakh rupees, and the bill removes the existing ceiling and states that the ceiling may be notified by the central government. This bill has already been passed by the Lok Sabha. On to business in the lower house, and 5 bills will be introduced in Lok Sabha today. Maneka Gandhi will move the Trafficking of Persons Prevention, Protection and Rehabilitation Bill 2018. The bill aims to prevent the trafficking of persons, especially women and children, and provides for the care, protection and rehabilitation to the victims and prosecutes offenders. Arun Jaitley will move the Banning of Unregulated Deposit Schemes Bill 2018. This bill provides for a comprehensive mechanism to ban the unregulated deposit schemes and protects the interests of depositors. Also, Suresh Prabhu will introduce the Airports Economic Regulatory Authority of India Amendment Bill 2018. The bill amends the Airports Economic Regulatory Authority of India Act of 2008. Also, Ravi Shankar Prasad will introduce the Commercial Courts, Commercial Division and Commercial Appellate Division of High Courts Amendment Bill 2018 and the Arbitration and Conciliation Amendment Bill 2018. Also, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley will move the Fugitive Economic Offenders Bill 2018 in the Lok Sabha today. The bill provides for measures to deter the fugitive economic offenders from evading the process of law in India, and the aim of the bill is to tighten the noose on economic offenders and defaulters who flee India. The bill will empower the government to confiscate any property owned by such a person in India. The proposed law will be applicable in cases where the value of offences is over 100 crore rupees. The aim of the bill is to re-establish the rule of law and also force the fugitive economic offenders to return to India to face trial for their scheduled offences. The bill also aims to help banks and other financial institutions to achieve higher recovery from financial defaults committed by such fugitive economic offenders. And that's all in this edition of Today in Parliament. Do stay tuned. The proceedings of the Upper House are going to begin in a short while from now. Thanks for watching.